remarkable stuff. And the Americans, obviously, back here in the U.S., everybody is very happy about it. They return to the knockout stages. It's been a massive objective for Greg Berhalter. And our own Taylor Twellman was on First Take earlier to discuss this historic, gigantic victory with Stephen A. Smith. Check it out.
What's the record?
Right now, they've won one game and tied 2.
They've won one game and tied 2. How many goals have they scored in these 3 games?
From my understanding, 2.
Come on, man. It's a success. Really? That's what we're doing now? This is the United States of America. This is the United States of America.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Stephen A., are they playing on Saturday? Are they playing on Saturday?
Yes, they are.
Wait, hold on. Are they playing on Saturday in a knockout game in the World Cup? Answer me, yes or no. It's a yes or no question.
Yes. I said yes.
Yeah, they got out of their group.
I said
Is that task number 1? Task number 1, whether you finish first or second, is get out of the group. Yes or no?
Okay. All right. I mean, listen. Listen.
Yeah, they got out of their group.
Debate show.
They got out of the group.
I'm
What do you
in no
want them to
position
do?
to debate with you about soccer. You know that. I can't debate with you about soccer.
Why?
I know better. I know
Why
my
not?
lane.
Listen, as someone who was born and raised in England and moved to this country more than 20 years ago, I know too well the both media landscapes, but I want to hear your thoughts just on that conversation. Americans, Stephen A. Smith, I love him, right? But Americans, right, they cannot comprehend the concept of a draw. What do you think of that, James Solly? Could you experience anything like that on the BBC with Gary and Alan or Sky Sports? It's just too funny.
No, because I think that the default is pessimism. We're probably, as we were just talking about earlier, actually, you know, the idea of a 0-0. I mean, in England we play a game called cricket where you play for 5 days and a draw is a very feasible outcome. You know, it's ingrained in our psyche that this is something that we do. We can play for 5 days. We can have breaks for tea and lunch and still have a draw and shake hands and go home at the end of it. All right. So, you know, this is just not something that we would ever talk about really in England.
Rob, what would you do in that situation?
That's not what lots of Americans think anymore, right? I mean, I saw the viewing figures for the America-England game, and it was like 20 million people that watched it in the US. I mean, so I mean, I guess that those attitudes and those beliefs about soccer or football, whatever you want to call it, still exist, but it's changing, right? I mean, you can see that with the number of people that want to watch World Cup games, and I can only imagine the number of people that's going to watch that game on Saturday. It's going to be incredible.
Absolutely. Listen, this country is going through a renaissance, a revolution when it comes to soccer/football. Foot culture, whatever you want to call it. It is, from a participation perspective, the most popular sport in this country. That's a fact. And it's growing and growing and it's beautiful. But the American psyche cannot, generally speaking, comprehend the draw. You have to win or be killed. And it's absolutely hilarious. And James is spot on. Like, you know, you can grow on watching a game of cricket, have a cup of tea, and nobody comes a winner, and everybody's fine and goes home. That is not acceptable in America, and I absolutely love it. Hey, listen, let me, before we carry on, very quickly in the USMNT, though, Rob, how do they beat the Netherlands? Is this a doable thing for the USMNT?
100%. 100% they can beat the Netherlands. The journalists the reporters who are following the Netherlands team are not happy with the way they're playing. You know, they think that Louis van Gaal is too cautious, that they're not attacking in the right way. You know, we all know that the US struggle to score goals because of their issues with strikers and the players they've got to pick from. But this is going to be a very, very tight game, and there will be a lot less pressure on the US against the Netherlands than there was in the Iran game. And I actually thought that Iran would probably go through, and I was wrong, and you know, thankfully wrong. And the US found a way to win. And I think if it's a similar type of game against the Netherlands, which I don't expect the Netherlands to go out and blitz the US at all. The US can definitely win that game, particularly in midfield. You know, the Netherlands have got some wonderful midfielders, but the midfield for the US since they've been here have been absolutely fantastic. Louis van Gaal, we're looking at that game thinking this could be trouble.
All this from the man who wanted England to avoid the Netherlands. Where's the consistency in this? I mean, no, I agree. I obviously, because I made the other argument earlier, I agree with Rob. It's definitely a winnable game for the US. And yeah, that midfield three. I I was speaking to someone in the England camp the other day, actually, who told me an interesting statistic that in the 6 years that England have been managed by Gareth Southgate, no team has covered more distance in a 90-minute game than the USMNT did. And I think that speaks volumes to just, in particular, that midfield three and how good they were, Adams, Musa and McKennie. I mean, if you look at Bellingham in the first game and the third game, they marked him out of that game, really. And the fact that he got taken off was an absolute testament to the three of those, particularly McKennie, I thought. They were excellent. And that just shows, really, that, how influential that midfield can be. And, yeah, they can absolutely cause the Dutch problems because, as I say, I'd like to play them. So, yeah.
We're calling this one the Serginho Dest is mine derby, so it will be interesting to see.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.